views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. And on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. Well, right now you still have the right to do so. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show. Well, there are repeated assaults on our right of free speech. And I'm not talking about in the United States the First Amendment necessarily. I'm talking about our inherent right as men and women on this planet to speak our minds, to challenge our governments, to question authority. What is wrong with that? And then not only do we have governments that are pushing back at us, but we push back at ourselves. We self-censor. We're afraid to make comments for fear that we might offend another one of our human beings. And of course, I don't agree with hate speech. I don't agree with calling people names. I don't agree with saying things that personally offend other individuals. But I do give each of us, in my mind, the right to do so, because who am I to judge, and who are we as a society, and who are governments to judge who can say what? You know what really brought this to a head? Michael Savage. For those of you who are not in the United States, but I think in the United Kingdom you're learning, there is a conservative radio talk show host here in the United States. His name is Michael Savage. And some of the comments that he makes are very offensive to people, especially to Muslims. In fact, he and the Council of CARE, Council of American Islamic Relations, actually were engaged in a lawsuit because he said some things about CARE, which CARE did not appreciate. There was a lawsuit. But guess what? Michael Savage, along with some Muslims, and along with Geert Wilders, or is it Wilders? I'm not even sure how he pronounces his last name. The Dutch lawmaker, who is very vitriolic in his comments about Islam, have been barred by Jackie Smith, the Homeland Security Secretary in the United Kingdom, from entering the British Isles or any other British protectorate or country. You know, it's kind of interesting, given the fact that Savage didn't even apply for a visa to go there, and yet she puts him on the list. Why? Why are they trying to shut this guy up? By the way, he couldn't have asked for better publicity for his radio show. I'm sure he's eating this up. Let's talk about some other radio show hosts. How about Don Imus, who made what I thought was a very inappropriate remark about the women's basketball team at Rutgers University in New Jersey, because the team was predominantly black, and he made some comment about curly hair or something. I don't even remember what it was that he said, which nobody would have paid attention to except for all the screaming and hollering about it, which caused it to get repeated over and over and over and over again ad nauseum. He got fired from that job. Now he's landed another job, but he got fired from his job for that. Why? You hire the guy to be a talk show host and speak his mind. If you don't like what he has to say, you turn the dial, you listen to somebody else, and you know what? If enough people do that, then his ratings go down. If his ratings go down, the advertising revenue decreases. If the advertising revenue decreases, then he loses his job. But why muzzle a guy who you put in a position to speak his mind? Now, I don't agree with what he said. I don't agree with a lot of things that Michael Savage says. But guess what? I listen to them both because I'm interested in hearing their point of view. And I listen to the other points of view as well. That's what it's all about, an open discourse and exchange of ideas. Then we had the Muslims who took to the streets. In some cases, the protests turned violent over a cartoon in a Dutch newspaper that depicted the Prophet Muhammad as a terrorist, with a strapped on with a bomb, and like he was going to blow himself up or something. And people took offense to that. Well, guess what? Editorial cartoons are designed to offend. That's why we have editorial cartoonists. And it's kind of interesting because some of the very people who objected to the objections over that, they themselves objected to the displaying in Union Square here in New York City of a painting by an artist that depicted Barack Obama as a messiah. And I'm not sure whether the intent of that one, in a suit, on a cross, with a crown of thorns, was designed to poke fun at those who would consider Obama their political messiah, or because they were trying to say that's exactly, the artist might have been saying that's exactly what Obama was. But it wasn't on political grounds that they objected. Just like the Muslims in the Netherlands, they objected on religious grounds. In fact, some of the very people who defended the right of that editorial cartoonist said, hey, that painting ought to be destroyed because it's blasphemous to the Christian religion. Well, what hypocrisy, in my opinion. Why can't we have freedom of speech even if that speech is distasteful? Now, I will tell you where I draw the line. I draw the line right where the Pal Talk Terms of Service draws the line. If you're advocating violence, or you're threatening, or you're provoking violence, then it's no good. Then I can understand stepping in and stopping somebody. But short of that, shouldn't we be hearing each other out, even if we don't like what the others have to say? Now, I recognize that when you have a civil discourse, as we do here on News Talk Online, it's a lot easier to listen to one another's points of view. When Don from Chicago comes up and gives his conservative viewpoint, and Alan J.C., our political correspondent, or Lively from Chicago, give their progressive viewpoint, and they argue the points with one another, it can get heated, yes, but they're not calling each other names, so it's easier for us, it's more palatable. This is the way we decide that this chat here, this forum that we have provided here, News Talk Online, will occur. But there are other rooms on Pal Talk, for example, where they're calling each other names. You so-and-so, and you dirty this, and